Clever Aisha, a story from Morocco. Hassan was a coppersmith who lived in the old city of Marrakesh. He was delighted when his wife gave birth to a girl. They called her Aisha. But Hassan's wife was very ill, and after a few weeks she died. Heartbroken, Hassan didn't know what to do. He went to work in the morning, leaving Aisha alone in her cradle. When he came back in the evening, the baby was still asleep in her cradle, but she had been washed and fed and was happy. Hassan was delighted. This happened again, the next day, and the one after that, but Hassan saw nobody. After a while, he began to realize that the jinns, which were kind, invisible spirits, were looking after his daughter for him. Aisha grew up to be a very pretty girl. The jinns taught her all kinds of things, and she became wise and clever. One evening, when Aisha was 17, Hassan came home looking very miserable. "What's the matter, Papa?" Aisha asked. "The Sultan has decided to see how clever his people are," replied Hassan, holding his head in his hands. "He's asking everyone in turn a question. If they can't answer it correctly by the next day, he has their heads chopped off. If they give the right answer, he gives them a bag of gold. Today he asked me, 'What does the water wheel say as it turns?' And I can't think of an answer." "Oh, Papa, that's easy," laughed Aisha. "Now listen carefully and do exactly as I tell you." She taught Hassan a rhyme and made him say it over and over again so he wouldn't forget it. When Hassan went to the Sultan the next morning, he pretended to listen to the water wheel for a while, and then he said, "I was a quince, I was a tree. The Sultan was hurt, he cut me down. He cut down me." The Sultan was very surprised that Hassan somehow knew that many years ago, when the Sultan was walking in the garden, he had hit his head on a quince tree, and he had been so angry with the tree that he had cut it down, and that the wood was made into the water wheel. The Sultan was mean and didn't want to give Hassan a bag of gold for getting the answer right, so he asked him another riddle. Again Hassan went home to Aisha in despair. "What shall I do?" he cried. "The Sultan says that I must go into the palace tomorrow, riding and walking, laughing and crying at the same time. How can I possibly do that?" Aisha laughed. "That's easy, Papa," and she told him what to do. The next morning Hassan rode to the palace on a very small donkey. It was so small that Hassan's feet were on the ground, so he was riding and walking. He knew he looked very funny, so he laughed, and Aisha had given him a peeled onion, which he held at his eyes so that made his eyes stream with tears, so he was laughing and crying. When Hassan reached the palace, he looked so funny that all the courtiers laughed. The Sultan wasn't pleased, but he had to laugh too. "Hassan, you have proved that you are clever. You earned your bag of gold." Hassan got off the donkey and bowed very low. "Sire, I am an honest man, and I must confess that my daughter Aisha told me the answers." The Sultan frowned for a moment, and then he ordered, "Your daughter should be given the bag of gold. Bring her to my palace." Dressed in her best clothes, Aisha walked with Hassan to the palace. Hassan was terrified, but Aisha wasn't the least bit scared. She smiled at the Sultan and laughed when he growled at her. The Sultan was enchanted by the pretty clever girl and decided to marry her. Over the years, he changed from being a cruel, bad-tempered man into the kindest Sultan his people had ever had. The end.